And we are live. I'm a little disappointed. I went back to check the replay on the last episode, and wouldn't you know it, the post live replay cut off my joke about the man from the man who sailed into Innsmouth Station with a shotgun in his coat. I had all six. What do you call those things? Not the choruses. The choruses. I had all six choruses of the shotgun in his coat, little big iron on his hip, little. What is this? 2017 internet? Is that the memes we're doing now? Yeah, sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. Hey, welcome to the Solo Traveler live play. It's not really solo. You guys are feeding me ideas, and we're cycling them in as best we can. You guys are teaching me how to play the game, and as we go through this, it's a learning experience for me and hopefully for some of you. Some of you guys try to help me. Hey, Paul Stanley, is that the thumbnail? So we're gonna get to that. Today's thumbnail is the money crater. The what did I call it? It's SMS. The merchant ship. It's a class S. Is it the Traveler Merchant Ship TMS Money Crater? The fella you see there is Captain Munder Deuce, and he's kind of a crotchety old guy, but you can tell he's been around for a while, and he's got some crazy power. I took and I completely stole this from somebody over on the social medias. Oh, I'm embarrassed. I should know who I took it from. Somebody beat me to it. They photoshopped Dundermoose. He hosts This Is Dundermoose. He had a live paint just a little bit ago. I'm glad he didn't step on his toes. And the thumbnail was a fantasy adventure in a wheelchair, which is chef's kiss. He's a great guy, and so we like to incorporate our friends into our games. So Captain Munderdeus has been around. He's got a 600-ton subsidized freighter, and we figured out what his thing is going to be. He's getting paid to sail around this little corner of the Penfold. It's another one of our commenters, the Penfold subsector, and he's going to go up to Tobor. He's going to do kind of a figure eight where he goes. I think we decided he goes to Shauner, to Tobor, and then back down here. We don't go to Vegas 762, and we're going to explain a little bit more of the stuff that I did to kind of develop this corner a little more. The big thing I want to do today, though, is finish off the crew of the Money Crater, and that's why Munderdeus is on the thumbnail. We're going to take a look at some random character generators. So first things first, let's go ahead and I'm gonna pull over here. See, I got the computer. She's ready to go. But first, let's talk about a couple of these planets over here that I devolved. I want to show you guys. There's a book called The Jester at Scar, and it's by an author you should have heard of, E.C. Tubb. If you go to, there's a little site called Amazon.com. You might have heard of it, and they still sell books. And if you go look up E.C. Tubb, he has a 33-volume epic space adventure series called Doom Arrest of Terra, in which the titular hero, if you will, he said titular, is trying to find his way back to old Earth. You don't have to read them in order, but they kind of do go in order. I got to be honest with you. I read all 33 of them in a 6-month block. They all kind of start running together after a little while. And you think, early on, in the first couple of books, he finds the love of his life, and then James Bond style loses her. And so he meets the other love of his life, and James Bond style loses her. And he meets the other, and about the time you're like, bruh, you need to stop falling in love with these girls. It ends badly for them every time. The E.C. Tubb kind of moves on, and that doesn't really happen anymore. So then he falls in love with a girl who's not quite, up to the snuff of the love of his life, but he still kind of loves her, and then bad things happen. So he spends the whole series trying to get to Earth, and it's great because it's basically the adventure of the week. It's like the old A-Team, right? It's like the old 90s adventure shows. He goes to a town, he has some fun, sometimes he cleans it up, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he bounces around a couple of systems, but they're all these wonderful little self-contained adventure stories. And sometimes he gets a clue as to where old Earth is located, and sometimes he gets a little closer, and it's a whole thing that even towards the end, he's trying to get closer, and he gets dragged away, and then getting closer is really hard. So anyway, long story short, too late. It's a great source book for ideas for Traveler because of all these little episodic things. Cyric, salute. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate the chat. A little boost to the algorithm. We appreciate it. Grab a couple of Doom Arrest of Terra. Read them. They're fantastic. In fact, in particular, a lot of the planets are planets where not a lot of people live. The very first book, there's only like a couple hundred people living on the planet. There's not a lot there to recommend it, except for this wonderful tourist trap, and he gets roped, like literally roped into dragging tourists to the tourist trap. Read it, you'll see what I mean. But it's great, because it explains why someone would take 2 weeks to hop all the way across, jump 3, to go to the little tourist trap, and then jump 3, go back, and why you have a planet that's otherwise okay, but there's only 400 or 500 people living there. I am going through all of this preliminary stuff, to encourage you to read Doom Arrest of Terra. I think the books are only like $1 a pop. And they're actually listed in numerical order if you wanted to read them in that way. But again, you don't have to. So I said, well, wait a minute. There's one of those books. I think it's the 6th in the series, maybe the 9th. I can't remember. The Jester at Scar. And it's this fascinating world. And I stole it. I completely ripped it off for one of these planets. And I can't remember which one it is now. But we're going to talk about it once I find it. It's not Corvinus. We all know about Corvinus. It's not Shauner. It's not Vegas 762. It's Hearnden. And the reason I wanted to talk about this one in particular is because it does some rather interesting things. When all of your worlds are built off of Book 3. Oh, let's go to Book 3. Let's make it official. Ka, as the big name in YouTube Miniature Wargamers says, Chow. But not if you don't like Ka-Chow. I like Ka-Chow, but you don't like Ka-Chow, and that's fine because you're awesome and you're special and you should like exactly what you like. And let me spend 10 minutes reaffirming all of your choices instead of actually taking a firm stand. All right, Uncle Adam hat off. I like him, but bruh, I get it. Yeah, I don't need it. Anyway, so Hearnden is, where is Hearnden located? It's 0601. Where is it on our, let's flip back here so I can show you exactly where that's at. Yeah, it's up here. There you go. Hearnden is this one. It's got water. Not a lot of it. It's 9,000 miles across. You know what that means, don't you? It means gravity is like 1.2. It's like 20% higher than Earth. So if you weigh 200 pounds on Earth, you'll weigh like 240 there. That could be a problem. It's got a gas giant. It's got a scout base. That's good to know. That means there's fuel there for our scouty boys. 9,000 square miles. That which helps explain what's going on here. It's got a population of 50,000, and it's got a dense, tainted atmosphere. Now, that's one of the things I want to talk about is dense, tainted atmospheres. So when you've got an atmosphere with a taint, giggle, then you got to figure out why it's tainted. And the deal is that you can normally breathe it, but there's something poisonous about it. Maybe the carbon dioxide is too high. Maybe there's constant sulfurous fumes spewing out from volcanoes all the time. Maybe it's been badly polluted. I wanted to do something a little different. And so I scratched my increasingly hairless noggin, and I remembered the Jester at Scar. One of the things to remember is that everything that we've rolled here are generalities. The Earth on Hearnden, the atmosphere on Hearnden is actually perfect. It's Earth natural, except it's got one little problem, and that's not always, but it's often enough that you always got to be ready for it. See, it's a mushroom planet. It's a planet whose biome is entirely, maybe a little bit of lichens, but for the most part, mushrooms. All right, so what does that mean? Well, that means that there's spores all over the place. And even when it's not spore season, they settle in places and they get kicked up. So you never really want to go outside without a filter mask. You got your N95, and thanks to the silliness of a little bit before, from a few years back, we all know what an N95 mask is. Then it's probably good enough because all your mask needs to do is filter out all those spores. You probably want to wear goggles when you're out there stomping around because you don't want to get these things in your eyes. And probably earplugs because you get mushrooms growing out of your ears. That would be really unfortunate. And one of the things that happens when you build a planet like this is that there's a a feedback cycle, and there's some looping where that happens in. So I said, oh, I want to have a mushroom planet. Well, obviously the starport is going to be called Mario Station for obvious reasons. The other thing to be aware of is that even with 50,000 people, there's no government, and there's basically you can't have grenades. So there's law one, and I guess it's probably but if there's no government who enforces it, well, the people around you do. So it's Wild West, but there are certain things that are simply not done. And since it's a well-armed society, it is a polite society. Both the native population of 50,000 and the non-native population are also able to carry firearms. How's that for a topical reference, huh? You Second Amendment bros, you know what I'm talking about. So here's what I wrote down. It maintains a steady population of 50,000 that doubles around the equinoxes. So generally it's 50,000 people, but why does it double? Well, that's because twice a year, spring and fall, you get these massive fungal growths. Normally it's either too hot or too cold for this, so it's just a barren rock. But for those couple of months of the year around the equinox, you got these huge rains that cause massive mushroom growth. And then for a month, they just cover every square inch of the planet, except for Mario Station, which is protected one way or another. And then they release massive spores, right? And so I'm thinking, well, why is it just only those two times of the year? And the answer for that is pretty simple. That's when the atmosphere is right. And I actually figured out, well, so here's our star, whatever it is, I don't know. I figure that our planet of Hearnden is eccentric. Hearnden is eccentric. I take that for what you will. And at this point and this point, the conditions are just right. You've got this it's too cold, and then it starts warming up, and then it gets warm enough, and all the rains dump. And then it cools off, and it's too cold, and it gets all warm, and it dumps. So during this part of the year where our highly eccentric orbit brings it close enough, and I'm grossly exaggerated this, right? But you get the idea. You get these massive rainstorms in the spring and the fall, and that's what causes the conditions to be right. And then when it gets too hot, when it gets too cold, so it must be, now that I think about it, it must have, maybe the planet also has a pretty dramatic axial tilt, right? So that it gets really hot or really cold. Either way, the mushrooms can't hack it, and they all die off. Well, wait. So why does the population double? And the answer is because the conditions are just right. Whatever limited soil is there, the wavelength of the radiation coming from the sun, the particular strength of the magnetic field for the planet, for whatever reason. Look, I'm doing hard science fiction. No, it's magic, okay? Like, there's reasons that I'm not going to explain, but it just works, okay? But what happens is these mushrooms are valuable for a lot of reasons. If you get the right cut of mushrooms and you can freeze dry them fast enough, then their spores go back to a little plant called Corvinus that you've heard of and used in the production of certain pharmaceuticals, right? The trick is, and again, this is all coming straight from the jester at Scar, the expeditions that go out there, and I'm thinking that Mario Station is probably like an island, and guys go out with flamethrowers and keep it free of the spores, but with these huge winds that blow the spores all over the planet, then that's fine. Or maybe it's an Arctic station would be the other way to do it, where it's always too cold. But people don't like to live in the Arctic, probably because it's so cold. So maybe it's an island out in one of the, there's only 30% water, but at 9,000 square miles, there's room for a really big ocean. And you could probably sit down and even come up with some explanation for why, here's our planet, and hopefully, we've got our, it's that weird sawtooth thing that we always do. And maybe that ocean covers like this area, and the prevailing winds are this way, so all the mushrooms grow right here where the storms blow out, and there's some mountains here, and our station is upwind. Look at it. So just by trying to figure out, well, wait a minute. If it's mushrooms, then that means. So here's our third of the water is right here, and here's where all the mushrooms grow, and here's our station where you need to get air rafts or some kind of. There's probably a business, right? That a guy for 3 months out of the year he shuttles prospectors, and they go over and they find the best mushrooms possible. And you want to go over like scout out your territory, and then you need to come back and hang loose for a while the huge raging storms burn, and then you want to walk out while the mushrooms explode out of the ground. And the problem is, and this comes up in the book, you're going to go scout your spots, like where do I think the best mushrooms are going to grow, while it's barren earth and it's easy to walk around. So you go spend a couple of days, but then the landscape changes. And any of you guys that have ever tried to explore outdoors, you know how hard it is to orient yourself when you are in thick vegetation. So you can go look for ridges and mountain ranges and whatnot, but you have to be really smart and clever to follow that same route when your visibility drops from whatever, 5-6 miles to the horizon, and suddenly it's 5 or 6 feet because everything is blocked by mushrooms. Now, why am I going into all that? Because there is another very important ramification. What that means is that the time of the year will dictate certain aspects of the economics of this particular system. And I'm not the guy to ask about the history of Traveller, because when it comes to it, I have just like a layman's understanding. But, if you start with Proto Traveller, then what you'll find is, we'll go back here to book 2, right? So this might not really apply here. They're probably not exporting a whole lot of, well, maybe they are, right? Maybe somebody's got some used air rafts that he wants to export. So you can justify anything on here, but there's not going to be a lot of radioactives, or maybe these all become mushroom based. Hey, here's the kind of mushroom that has been really in vogue this year, that has, for whatever reason, this year was really good for the nuclear mushrooms that have a great, they, for whatever reason, they're nuclear mushrooms. I don't know. Their root stems uptake rare nucleotides, and so they're in an area they've basically done the heavy lifting for you. But what I was looking at was, when it comes time to do your starship economics, particularly your passengers, if you are leading up to the rainy season, then you may have a bonus to how many passengers are looking to get there. And because they're all prospectors, they're all working for companies, they're not going to be traveling high, they're going to be traveling middle. And then again, if you're trying to get there while everybody's leaving because the season is over, then there's going to be a penalty. And so that's where we turn down to this little chart here. If it is March or September, it says dash, but it means March and. I can put March and. We'll put a little ampersand there. Ampersands are really big in the role-playing game community. So in March and September, there's heavy rains, and that's when guys are showing up. +2 medium and -2. Doesn't matter where you're coming from. If you're going there, this is the passage. So the numerator is for arriving, and the denominator is for leaving. Fundamentally, remember, if I land there and then I leave a week later, I'm going to have a couple of extra passengers getting there, but ain't nobody leaving just before the season gets good. So at the same time, if you're leaving in March or September, there's a penalty, right? And then again, the guy's traveling low because these guys are all looking to make their fortune. I want to jump in, make my nut, and then get out. That's where you have plus and minus D6 to the low passages. In April and October, so this is March, April, May. You've got the rain season, the growing season, and then the spore season is in May. That's, let's see, March, April, May. The same thing, right? Like nobody is arriving, but everybody's leaving. So this is I guess the trade season. The growing season is when everybody goes out there because they grow in 2 weeks. There's a couple of weeks. Anyway, you get the point, right? So this is one of the things that you can do that will add additional flavor to your systems that you now have a seasonal differential that requires you to keep track of where you're at in the season, in the calendar, huh? How about that? So this is where the one-to-one time comes in, and it wasn't until after I'd gone through that whole process that I realized, oh, wait a minute. If this is kind of centered around the equinox, now, again, bear in mind, I've simplified things greatly in the month of March, in the month of April, and in the month of May, right? In the real world, there would be like, look, spring thaws came early this year. Oh, looks like the growing season's a little bit longer this year, right? Because the planets are wildly chaotic places. You can't easily predict what's going to happen next month, let alone next year. So I just, to keep it simple and to make it easy, it's March, April, and May. And then I realized, well, wait a minute. If March is when you want to get there, and then April, like, you get a little bonus. If you can land in late March and leave in late April, then you're going to get a little bonus because your penalty for leaving is lower than your penalty for arriving. And this might explain the figure 8 route that the money crater takes, because he's trying to time it just right. And that timing may mean if he leaves port 2 days later because of some riots between religious nuts and water polo fans. See how we tie this back into the calendar? And I didn't realize it, but that explains why Captain Deuce was so aggravated with the drunken engineer. He's like, look, I'm leaving 2 days late. I'm losing money here, guys. Not only am I having to pay an extra couple of days berthing fees, because the station doesn't care that it's not my fault that I can't leave. They have to charge me that extra, whatever it is, a couple of hundred credits per day that I'm stuck there. I'm not happy. And now I got to put up with this drunken junior engineer? I don't think so. So oddly enough, retrospectively, I understand why that is the way it is. And it's really funny that I said, well, the equinoxes would make a good time for that. Hey, wait a minute. Today is the 21st of March. Today is the equinox. One-to-one time wins again, baby. I'm going to check in the chat, but before I do, some guy, actually, his name is Seth Skorkowski, I think his name is, and he does Traveler solo live plays too. He's been doing a lot longer than I have. He's like a science fiction writer apparently, and he's got a much bigger channel than I am. So who am I biting at his ankles? But he was kind of frustrated because he's an RPG guy, and he made a little circle. Oh, what are we talking about today? Is the wheelchairs? Just that? And the funny thing is, half of the items on his wheel were like Bro SR concepts, and I'm like, you understand? And he does, and he's got a much bigger channel than I do. Hey, Todd Carlson, and the things that we talk about on this channel, in a lot of ways, we're like the 4chan of the tabletop RPG world, in that we A/B test all of these interesting ideas, and then these ideas break containment. And the best ideas, everybody talks about them. In fact, there are so many more people talking about one-to-one time. Nobody was talking about one-to-one time 5 years ago. Nobody. I mean, there were a couple of little blog posts that would kind of flame on and go away. Now, people are sick of hearing about it because, people that aren't good at RPGs love to talk about how using the best practices is not required. Yeah, and you're right, it's not. But I was just laughing because, what was the other one? It was like patrons, and there were like 3 things on the wheel that I thought, you could have just put Bro SR, Bro SR, Bro SR, Bro SR. Let's check in on the chat. That's enough. We're like 20 minutes in. I feel bad. I got to acknowledge you guys. I appreciate you being here. Mandolph is in the house. Paul Stanley from British Columbia. Oh, he checked out. Adama was an admiral. Baltar was a politician. Thank you. Bradford in the house. Make sure you're hitting Bradford's blog on the regular. Cyric. Are we talking about Cyric today? Cyric is up here. I don't think we are yet. I got to talk about Vegas 762. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, saying hi to all my friends stopping by. Where's Starbucks? So we all know Starbuck is awesome. We're talking the original 1980 Starbuck is awesome. So whenever we have Chad Solo hanging with Captain Deuce yeah, you know it's going to be Giga Chad's head on Starbucks uniform. Also, I mean, it's way cooler, right? Starbuck had a way cooler uniform than Han Solo. Way cooler. It's got a cape. My Helldiver 2 bros know what I'm talking about. Yes, yeah, I would like to learn to play solo. Yeah, Investigator B5. Just watch. We cover all the good principles. Just do what we do. You'll have a great time. The planet got too moist and got swamp ass, says Gentleman Savage. Yeah, it's tainted. Jeremy Hearnden, why did YouTube not? Oh, you gotta hit the bell. You gotta like, subscribe, and ding the bell if you want to get the black. Yeah, you get the idea. Paul Stanley, black goo spores from Alien. Yeah, maybe. I don't think there's any intelligent life on this planet. There we go. Jeremy works for me, eccentric and full of fungus. Okay, you're gonna want to see a doctor about that one. There must be more. Is it time to bust out the outdoor survival mat? It may be. I mean, we could run into animals. I'm guessing there's no animals on the planet. If they do, they hibernate. So what you're telling us is they're intergalactic tree planters? Who's they, Paul Stanley? I feel like I missed something. Todd Carlson, we said hi to you already. I'm not saying hi to you again. One per customer. Always like Boomer too, Todd Carlson. Man, I was a wee lad when that show came. I barely remember it, and we didn't have cable, so I couldn't even watch it. I had to be at Grandma's house and had to keep it down, so I couldn't even watch it on the Nick at Night or the where's the TV Classics channel? I don't know, but I wanted to talk about Tobor. Tobor's a good one. So this is where, again, if you want people to have fun with your. If you want people to take an interest in the campaign and the stuff that you're doing in your role-playing game, and you are active on social media, and why wouldn't you be? You're going to want to have some fun with the ideas. One of the most interesting characters to come out recently is a Smokey the Bear, based on Smokey the Bear, which is genius. You definitely want to go with Smokey the Bear. That's the kind of IP you want to rip off on, because you can go over and you can grab Smokey the Bear images and Photoshop the heck out of them. That's why making Captain Deuce just Commander Adama, right, with the whole thing, that's why that works. So I was like, oh, Tobor. Now, Tobor, we named Tobor. It's an open circle because it's got no water. This is the planet that's got billions of people on it. And it has a Class C starport. It's linked to Vegas 762. So I'm going to talk about these two together because they are closely linked, and not just by this little star lane here. Okay. Yeah, thinking. So Tobor, right? Now the poster's name was Robot something something something. I said we're going to name this Tobor, and then I jumped online and I went Tobor. Tobor the Great was like an old 1950s sci-fi B movie. That is wonderful because, okay, so Tobor, remember we talked about how maybe the planet's run by a legitimate AI and not just like a Wizard of Oz front like we have in our world. Somebody pointed out, hey, somebody was very kindly said, hey, moron, Tobor is a tech level 8 world and AI doesn't show up. Here, I'm going to show receipts. When you build your systems, you big stupid goof. Look at your tech levels again. Cause I'm kidding. He's a friend. He was very polite. But he said, look, AI doesn't show up until page 10, apparently. Look, tech level 17. You're 9 tech levels away, bruh. Okay, thank you. That's a wonderful point. And now, here's why we are the experts. Do you know I have almost 5,000 subscribers as of the recording of this? I'm only like 40 short. 5,000 of you suckers have fallen for my shtick. I love you all. You're all wonderful. The tables indicate the general types or categories of goods in general use on the world. In most cases, such goods are the best, which may produce locally, although better goods may be imported by local organizations. Blah, 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 blah. Generally speaking. So that means Todd Carlson, 5,000 peeps with nothing to do. Nothing better to do. Okay, I'm sure they've got lots of of actually lots of better things to do that they should be doing, but they're procrastinating by watching this. Right. So the whole point is tech level AI doesn't show up to tech level 17. I ain't saying they're selling AI on this planet. I'm saying there's an AI on this planet. And remember that our campaign already had an AI in it. But I'm not sure. We had an artificial intelligence. He's floating, shut down in this hex right here, right now. So maybe one of Cobalt 15's battle brothers did the same thing as Cobalt, but maybe he was better at everything than Cobalt. Maybe it's his older brother that Cobalt always wanted to be like when he grew up. Point is, we've got an AI running the planet Tobor, and so I even have that. And remember what we rolled for the government. Charismatic dictator. Oh, it's Tobor the AI. He's running the show. And it's charismatic. And if you read the description for charismatic dictator, and this is where I think you can also get away with, okay, so the planet, the general characteristics, generally the most, and that could mean that the most powerful polity on the planet is, whatever you rolled, but there may be other smaller polities that don't really have a lot of interstellar presence. So, for example, when aliens come to Earth, they're always landing somewhere in the United States, at least for now. More and more of them are going to start landing in China and Russia with time, because those are going to be the polities in the coming decades that aliens will want to interact with. They're the ones calling the shots. So, but for now, they tend to land somewhere in the Midwest. I don't know. Maybe they think that's where the Supermans live. Point being, general categories, you can kind of wiggle around and finagle your way out of those. In fact, specifically when it comes to the planetary government, but I do want to read the description for the planetary government for A. When you've got a government A ruling functions are performed by agencies directed by a single leader who enjoys the overwhelming confidence of the citizens. That's the passage I wanted to quote to you, chapter and verse, because despite the fact that there are 10 billion people on this planet, they're happy. And so now we sit and we go through the train of thought as we're in the shower, as we're driving down the highway. Well, that makes perfect sense. There's 10 billion people there because this is a nice place to live. And I think sometimes we have a tendency when we design these planets that we're so eager to create situations that are meta-stable. They're only stable in the short term, and that there is lots of angles of attack and ways to get in and create serious drama. Corvinus, we've decided that there's a lot of friction between this growing cult of the Church of Dagon. They probably have a presence all throughout the sector. This is a thing that happens in East. Man, I completely forgot about that. The psychics. I got to go back and read those books. There's a lot of good stuff there. Anyway, sorry, I got off track there. We left Corvinus stable, but we now know that there are fault lines within the society that could bring the whole thing down. Here, you've got a planet that is being run effectively by a robot named Tobor. And so I just started thinking about it, and I was like, man, that means, A, I can pull a bunch of Tobor memes off, but why do they love Tobor so great? And remember that we the dice came up that this is not an agricultural world. They have to import food to survive. It's an industrial world, and it's poor. Okay, so now we have a couple of things that at first blush, well, how can they be happy if they're poor? Well, there's more to life than the rat race. There's more to life than just making the red line go up. If it's an industrial world, there's plenty of work there. It's a net exporting world. If the government were taking good care of the people, then people might be happy enough. They don't need to go on and, there have been lots of countries filled with people who are happy despite not going to see 3 live Jimmy Buffett concerts across the country every year. There are people who can be perfectly happy as long as they have their family and their friends nearby. They've got a stable job. They know their kids are safe. They don't have to worry about getting, murdered by random people on the street. Their daughters can walk alone outside on the streets at night without having, he doesn't have to worry about them. They have a curfew, for their own morality more than for any sense of safety. There's no reason that you can't have a world in Traveler that's just nice. Sometimes it's okay to have a planet that's just nice. Now, with any 10 billion people, you will have corners of the world. Again, we're all speaking in generality. These are all generalities. There will be those areas just off the docks, just outside of the starport, that's filled with ladies of the night and gambling casinos that may be underground or above ground with respect to the law. There will be lawbreakers and there will be issues. There will be problems. People are passionate. And people have different ideas. There is probably an underground resistance that's wildly unpopular because the people like their charismatic dictator. It may be that there is room for adventure even on a nice planet like this. But the big thing, the lesson I wanted you to take away from today's episode is it's okay to have a planet where things are fine. It doesn't all have to be Mad Max. Every day doesn't have to be a constant struggle for survival. Sometimes it can just be a struggle against the existential ennui from pushing papers around. Okay? Sometimes that's as bad as it gets, and that's okay. So what do we have here? Right? Right. So one of the reasons people love Tobor the Great, then we circle back to, we have a trace atmosphere. It's 5,000 miles. All right. So, it's a trace atmosphere. So that means that, you don't have a lot of air. You need to, let me read that again. You do need to trace. Where's trace? That would be a good name. Tracy Atmosphere would be a great name for an NPC, wouldn't it? It should be on this page right about. No, that's starports. Starports. Hydrographic. Here we go. Trace Atmosphere is. That's less than very thin. You need respirators. Yeah, they approximate the effects of vacuum and require the wearing of protective vac suits at all times. So to go outside, you need vac suits. But I submit to you, dear viewer, that it used to be no atmosphere. And then something happened about 5 generations ago. Somebody said, hey, you people need work. Why don't we get to work terraforming the planet? You've got these big public works projects that cost a lot of money, but maybe not you, maybe not your grandkids, and maybe not even their grandkids. But if you're willing to sacrifice, and you're willing to build for a better tomorrow, at some point, we can turn trace into full atmo. So this is one of the things that Tobor does. He keeps people fully employed. Unemployment runs at a steady 2 to 3%, which would be ideal, right? It lets people leave jobs that they don't want. They're not forced into any particular job. But he's got huge water generators that are used to build the water. And there's great domed forest cities indoors. There's all kinds of good stuff. There are free entertainment. I mean, nothing like, again, you can't take a free trip around the world, but maybe there's cinemas you can go to for a nickel. Wouldn't that be fine? The trains run on time. They're clean and they're efficient. This must be a science fiction or European. I don't know. Though poor, basic needs are met. The streets are safe and people are generally pleasant. Right. So when you go here, people are nice. It's just a nice planet. I like Tobor. Now, why? Okay. Tobor is great Space Wolf Lodge, but for poor people. Yep. But when they did, they made big scores, but they had to sit on them because they couldn't fence the product. Let's see. We got some sci-fi chat in the chat. I like that. Old Galactica is best Galactica. My favorite episode is where Starbuck is stuck on the world with a Cylon, and it's basically enemy mine. And doesn't he teach? That's one of the few scenes that sticks in my mind. Starbuck is teaching a Cylon how to play poker, and he's cheating constantly because that's just what the face man did. We got ourselves a forbidden planet. I think that Cyric is the forbidden planet, if memory serves. There's like 400 people living here, but there's a Class B? Is that right? Cyric, what are you doing here? Yeah, there's only 400 people. There's a Navy base. Only 400 people. This might be, and it's another water world with a dense atmosphere. This might be our Floston paradise. It's jump 3. This might be where the hoi polloi for Corvinus go to vacation. 400 people, except when they have their planning committees and their business conventions, they fly to Cyric maybe. Yeah, it puts them out of commission for a month, but that's fine. I think Cyric is our like pleasure planet. Maybe the lottery winners from Tobor, and that's one of the reasons people like living on Tobor, because every year they send 1,000 people to Cyric for a 2-week vacation, and people like having that hope. Ooh, this might be the year I go. Vegas 762 is interesting. Let's take a look at Vegas 762. And Vegas 762 is tied to planet Tobor. So, good. I'm glad it's all fuzzy. So we're gonna look at what we rolled. Right? It's 8,000 miles. It's got an exotic atmosphere. It says, okay, it's going to be nitrogen-based. Exotic atmospheres are kind of hard because exotic atmospheres mean that they require the use of oxygen tanks but not protective suits. So in other words, it's not dangerous except that you'll die if you don't have oxygen. So I'm thinking the people on this planet, they have like dunk-style, not still suits, but like O2 suits. They've got they've got like camelbacks with little nose plugs that plug, the little things that plug in here. And when they go outside, all they need is their little camelback backpack with the little nose plugs giving them O2. All right, it's 30% water. Okay, so we got these huge algal mats that, and here's the thing, is to have a nitrogen cycle. Like normal plants don't go for nitrogen, they go for oxygen and like carbon monoxide. So what we would have is like bacteria that are constantly, it's a nitrogen cycle. But we got 100,000 people living here, and it's a civil bureaucracy, a tech level 5, which means nothing up for pistols. Let's look at that in a little more detail. Tech level 5 means you got radios and ground cars, but it's basically an oil-based economy. All right, so what does that mean? Well, there's a government, all right, and it's like 1940s style. So there's no like independent rocket sets. So what I came up with is we have our prison planet. All right, you got a staff of like 1,000 people at the starport, and then you've got like a chief warden, and they're at tech level 8. So again, I've deviated a little bit. Our general tech level is tech level 5, strongly enforced. These guys have blaster pistols. They have, what do they have? They have laser rifles and beam lasers, and they will jack you up if all you're shooting with is like submachine guns. So they maintain a fortress starbase, and they strictly enforce the tech level 5 mandate. There are 9,000 prisoners, right? And so there's a whole bunch of warlords. And now, oh wait a minute. So the largest warlord. So now it's a prison planet, and it's basically that Ray Liotta movie, except in outer space. You know, where he's stuck on a prison island with the robot from Alien. No, Aliens is the robot. He's a doctor that killed his wife. Spoiler alert for a movie that's 40 years old. Iron sharpens iron. If we didn't kayfabe, we would achieve as much excellence. Megabuster Shepard points out. Yeah, when people tell me I'm doing things wrong, then I laugh and I go, cool, I'll fix it. Or else I laugh and I go, excuse me? And I push my glasses up on the bridge of my nose, and then I quote them the actual rule. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. What's the name of the movie, guys? You know. My old man brain can't remember so good. Actually, my brain has the information. It's my random access memory that can't retrieve it fast enough. But just because the world is tech level available doesn't mean they don't have higher levels. Yeah, a little bit. A little bit, says Jeremy Hearnden. Let's see. Super tech AI in charge of a generally lower tech world. Sounds sick. Ever read Roadside Picnics? Aliens landed and they just didn't even bother with us humans. I haven't read it. I was going to, and then Ash Barker over on Guerrilla Miniatures Games ruined it for me, and it seems bleak. And I like Ash's discussions on media properties, but I am not a fan of his approach that everything is grimdark and bad, and even a harmless children's show like Thunder the Barbarian. He is absolutely analyzing media through a secular lens, and in every episode he discusses things from the perspective of there is our life and our world only, and that you're looking at the world through a keyhole, and you're not getting the whole picture when you only look at this life. And so, because the things that we do in this life echo through eternity, and because we ourselves will echo through eternity, a lot of the grim, dark analysis falls flat to my ear, which doesn't stop me from listening to them all and being very interested in them all. And I do appreciate the perspective that they bring, and I appreciate knowing more about Roadside Picnic than, isn't that the Zona Alpha game? Like, I learned a lot from it, and I'm not criticizing him at all. I'm just elucidating why you need to open both eyes and look at things from the perspective of there is more to the universe in which we live than this fallen planet of ours. Also, Roadside Picnic is silly because, we're the caretakers. We're the guys having roadside picnics. There's nobody up there in outer space having roadside picnics, but if there were, boy, wouldn't that be great to read about how much worse everything would be. It's a very Russian novel, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the perspective, and it's a novel written under some very harsh Soviet strictures. But we're not anyway. Listen, you did it to me again, gang. You got me going. It's like how, let's see. I'm going to steer back into this. Someday I'll probably read it, but I'm not in a dark enough place yet. Gentleman Savage says, a benevolent dictator, or is he nefarious but just has the populace fooled? I don't know. That's possible if Tobor was an AI administrator of an old stellar society that's gone away, but he's continued the role of overseer of the planet, and that could be it. Workers make more stuff when they're well taken care of, points Gentleman Savage. Yeah, and when they're paid enough to be able to spend it on other things. Generally, when morale is high, people are more productive. It's like how Firefly says, Gentleman Savage. Jeremy Herndon concurs. Megabuster Savage. It's like how Firefly barely went to the core worlds. All the action was on the frontier, where the Alliance was stretched thin, and outlaws command the space lanes. Yeah. Paul Stanley says that sounds like They Live. No, remember, in They Live, it was the outsiders that had put on masks and taken over the United States, all of the key positions, and paid off a few select non-outsiders to betray the rest of America. The outsiders were setting themselves up for posh, swanky lifestyle, and they were actively working against the interests of the average American. I am reliably informed this is a fictional story. And on Tobor, it's a little different because the Tobor actually takes care of his people, and he wants to raise all, the rising tide lifts all boats, right? He wants everyone to be well taken care of, and he's found ways to do that. Jeremy Herndon, when they did make big scores, they had to sit on them. That's Firefly. They couldn't fence the product, yeah. Or they had to sell the product at a steep discount. Let's see. So Tobor is a great Space Wolf Lodge. Yeah, I guess. Cheating against Cylon, said Jeremy Herndon. No escape. Thank you, Jeremy Herndon. Ray Liotta played a Marine who killed his XO because his XO committed war crimes and no one wanted to admit it. I tend to find that grimdark settings, says Gentleman Savage, are outlets for secular people to reconcile the generally accepted people are naturally good lie with what they see in everyday life. However, I take exception. I think people are naturally good, but they are born into a world where there are enormous pressures for them to not be good. It is more profitable in the short run to not be good. We are endowed by our Creator with a desire to bring ourselves closer to Him. Grimdark settings like Warhammer are pregnant with co-opted Christian hope and morals. Yeah, but you got to work at it, and that's where I think the real lesson comes in. Yeah, I know everything looks really horrible now, but you have to keep your eyes on the prize. Todd Carlson, interesting take on Grimdark. Makes me appreciate the hope that really exists. Kind of a cathartic effect. Yeah, again, while we're talking movies, we can all thank, not Sardo Numspa, we can all thank 1991, the golden child of hope survived, unlike the golden child of justice. Yeah, there's no justice in this world, but there is in the next. Just keep that in mind. And make sure you're on the right side of it when you check out. Interesting. Let's see. They Live is a John Carter movie starring Roddy Piper, and Keith David. I can never remember if his name is David Keith or Keith David. I don't know why. Gentleman Savage, I find role-playing and very secular people demonstrate their knowledge of God through their actions. Yeah, ex-Christian guy I know was the most righteous cleric I've ever seen played at the table. Jeremy Hearnden, he was trying to warn us how things could get, though. So let's talk about that for a second, Gentleman Savage. This is a very controversial statement because if you go back and read the stories of Conan, you will find that Conan is a wonderfully Christian character. Not in the sense that he follows our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but in the sense that the author, Robert E. Howard, was the product of a deeply Christian society. And those views infused his thoughts and minds, and whether consciously or not, Conan is a walking embodiment of the Christian ideals of justice, if not, let's full stop there, of justice. So there are times, I have pointed out, Conan never murdered anyone. Okay, if you squint, when he was acting as a privateer off camera, he was a pirate, there's a good bet that he may have. But on camera, I don't think he ever committed a single murder. Someone pointed out to me when I made that claim that what about the judge in, oh boy, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the story now. He was in a bar, and a lieutenant challenged his friend to a duel, and Conan killed the lieutenant, was on trial for murder when it was clearly a case of self-defense. And the judge said, I don't care if it's self-defense, you're going to prison. And so Conan ensured that justice prevailed by grabbing a sword, chopping the head off the judge, and heading out for the nearest book. I think it's Queen of the Black Coast. I'm reasonably sure it is. Don't quote me on that. Megabuster Shepherd backs me up. Queen of the Black Coast, Conan does not kill the judge. He exercises the natural law and exhibits a sense of justice that even the justice of the peace did not. Anyway, I haven't even gotten to my good joke yet, guys. This is we're Planet Vegas 762. Talk amongst yourselves in the chat. It's the best chat on the internet. So you've got all these warlords out there. So the deal is, ships come and land at the chief starport, right? The main cell block, and then each of these fortresses that, again, there's O2 there, there's oxygen there. They're like self-contained fortresses. That's where the warlords live, and they go out and they fight with each other, and they're prisoners. And so one of those, the largest and the closest cell block to the starport, is run by the warlordess Boadicea. I've been waiting for that one. It's Boadicea. She maintains a fortress. She has about 25 miles, and she recruits and sorts the new fish into the other cell blocks. You only need the O2 supplements here. Anyway, I was really proud of that one. I like that one. Boadicea. Right? Some of you guys know. She's got a... Anyway. So, looking back at the map here. So, yeah, we have our Mad Max prison planet, right? Thank you, Megabuster Shepherd. He gets it. He's one of the good ones. Prisoners can manage themselves as long as they don't bother the warden, as long as you don't try to get off the planet. And it's going to be hard to get off the planet because all you have is oil as a resource. If anybody does smuggle, so there is potential for smuggling here. There's potential for prison breaks. Now we've got our sense of adventure. Maybe not in Tobor itself, but why are they connected? Well, duh, all of the undesirables, all of the people that are just no good for society, they got to go to Vegas. What does that mean? Oh, it means there may be a thriving trade in hauling people to Vegas 762. They're all going to be traveling low, though. So unless Tobor is running a shuttle service, there may be an opportunity for, if I'm running from Tobor to Vegas, I may take a look at Vegas 762 is Space Australia. Yeah, that's exactly right. And who knows? Maybe in 100 years, all of the Boada Thicka, well, I mean, she won't be alive there, but hey, maybe that's her long-term plan, right? Maybe she's hoping in 10 years she can take over enough of the other cell blocks to unite the clans and take over the starport and wage a holy jihad. Would Vegas be an amber zone? Well, you're talking to a guy that plays proto traveler, not classic traveler. I don't know what zones mean. I get it, right? From context, amber zones are danger. Probably don't want to go here, but they're also like they're the shinies. You're dangling your keys in front of. Although I should point out, the amber zone is jangling keys in front of your players. But these are my keys. It just doesn't work the same with a fob. I like the metal keys. I'm not the first to point that out. You tell players this is a planet you shouldn't go to, they're going to go there. You know how it works. Unless you want them to go there and you tell them don't go there, and then they'll know and they won't go there. So again, you can take a look at the passage here. How do we make money as a starship? The answer? Yeah, well, you know the joke. You know how you make a huge fortune running a starship and Traveler? I screwed it up already. I'm going too quick. You know how you make a small fortune in Traveler? Start with a large fortune. Right? So if I was going to... Now, normally, we're going to Vegas 762, which is... What is it? It's population 5, I think. There's 100,000 people there. Yeah, population 5. Normally, when you're going there, right, if you're originating from Tobor... Oh, well, if you're originating from Tobor... Yeah, oh, look at all those people. No, you're going to be hauling... we're going to have some additional penalties here. Normally, when you're going to a 5, it'll be -1, -1. I'm going to be like, nah, you know what, bro? There's going to be, like, 1 die. D2, let's run this real quick. The white die is who's going, right? So here you got 2 high passages, and then you've got the same thing for middle passages. So so we got, like, 10 guys. So there's a shift change. The guards... probably spend like a 6-month stint. So we got 10 guards that are going there. But it's actually only 9. Because look, see, there's your 5 -1. But you've got, you might not need any. That would really explain it. Right? Look at all the ones. We only have 8 prisoners going right now. People have been behaving themselves on Tobor. So there you go. There's our kind of running down 3 of these. I haven't even gotten to the crew of the money crater yet. There's kind of these. What did I do? I did Hearnden, Vegas, and Tobor, and we'll incorporate those as we go. But what did I tell you at the very beginning of the episode we were going to do? I said we're going to go. We need to kit out the crew of the money crater. So now we're going to do this awkward thing where everybody gets seasick because I'm zooming in on my, again, I'm using my cell phone here, so you'll have to bear with me. There we go. Doesn't that look great? Oh, it doesn't do the whites. It doesn't do the whites justice, does it? Okay, I'm going to pause. I'm going to let you guys, fill in the blanks there. My computer doesn't. And we're just gonna let that sit for a minute while I clean the yogurt from my throat. Let me grab a drink real quick. Forgive me, I've been talking for an hour.
All right, man. Maybe I'm pretty good at this after all. So zoom in on the thing, stupid camera. Zodani base. This is your go-to for generators. It's one of the go-tos, right? It's got let's see, hex map, hex paper maker, dot map if for sector dot map. Let's take a look at that. I don't even know what that is. I'm gonna open it up, and we're gonna load this real time, man. We're keeping real hours, so you can wait. Generate your own dot maps. What do we do here? Define your own colors. I guess it helps you build like a pretty sector. Spaceship counters rendering machine. I don't know what that is. Classic traveler subsector. Classic traveler character. Yeah, so if you don't want to go through all the business, I mean, we're only like a third of the way through generating our subsector. But it's, honestly, this generating the subsector has turned into just kind of a fun thing we do in the off hours so that, we can hang out and goof off. I don't know if you can see the reflection. What do we got here? So we just density standard, listing, and then we submit, and well, I want to see the legend, and then give me the map too. So we submit this, and let's see what happens. So here's all your planets. 0102 is a D, starport D, 72A, 8A9, tech level 5. It's got a gas giant. All right, and then it even does the thing where it's like, oh, this is your agricultural. This is your, I don't know what high is. I don't know what low is. I'd have to look that up. DE poor is, oh, RI is rich. So here's a rich world with a class E. They don't want anybody coming there. And then here's your map showing all the planets, and so yeah. So you can just, and then you get to go through and you get to this is you've dealt your tarot cards and you get to go through and see what they all mean. You've drunk your tea and now you're reading the tea leaves, and you build your whole little thing like that. But we're not going to be doing that today. Instead, we're going to look at a couple of different character generators, and so I'll close that down. So this one might be useful. This is at jodani.space. I think it's actually connected to that website I just left. This is an old project and may contain errors. Relatable. Boy, am I feeling that one. So you can pick whether you go into the Navy or the merchant or other or diplomat, barbarian. What? So already, like as a proto traveler guy, any book 1, that's what I would do, and then any supplement 4. So as a proto traveler guy, this rogue frightens and confuses me, and so I'm not going to use it for that very reason. But it looks like you could do any book 1, and then over here we've got one at Bat in the Attic, which is very similar to this one at devilghost.com. And we're going to use devilghost.com. This is proto traveler in its pure rawest form. The Bat in the Attic is the same thing, but it includes supplement 4. Ask the guys in the chat what that means. I don't know what it means. I'm not using the supplements. So, I can't tell you. But it's as simple as refresh. All right, so they give us a name. This is Thaddeus Gruber. Got dropped off of Nakatomi Towers at the age of 22. Death in service. Right? Skadoosh. So this is, I'm going to, hey guys, I know you can see me in the reflection. That's kind of fun. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can kind of look. Oh. We'll do a little Red Letter Media super zoom. Will we? What do I need to do here? Fix the lighting? Oh, this is not going to work, is it? Come on. Work with me, baby. Work with me, baby. There we go. Got him. Oh. Okay. Don't move. I think my reflection in the laptop is throwing me off here. Okay. Death in service. Skadoosh. We did it. We died in service. We were live. But like I said, we could probably refresh this a few times and deduce what some of the differences are. Attempted to enlist in criminal life. Ooh. Enlistment accepted. Mandatory. Yeah. Once you go in, you can't get out. And then he died. All right. So I'm not going to use this one because I don't know about no criminal service. I think that's other. The implication in Proto Traveler is that if you don't get accepted into any of the normal services, then you go full other. Maybe that'll help. Let me turn these lights off. There we go. Oh, we run a tight ship here eventually. So my plan, let me tell you how I'm going to work this. We're going to start off with old Hans Peterson. He is our pilot. Well, there's a couple of ways we can do this. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this, and I'm going to generate some guys that make sense. As we talked about in the last episode, one way to kit out your full crew is to just say, look, I'm going to do what we do for all of our NPCs. I'm going to roll strength, dexterity, endurance, and I'm going to give them one skill in whatever's relevant. I need a pilot, so I roll 3 by 2d6, and I give them pilot 1, and we're done. I'm not going to do that. I am going to look for a pilot using this. I'm going to generate characters until the pilot shows up. And by the way, if you can see me in the reflection there, and I've got these clear, it's because they were $2, okay? Not because I think I look good wearing $2 cheater readers. I'm just cheap. I'm not cool. And I'm not hipster or whatever the like modern equivalent of the hipster is. Right, so as you can see here already, this classic traveler generator, we've got a guy who was denied reenlistment after his 3rd term, and the couple of things we're going to ignore are the name, obviously. I already told you this is Mr. Peterson. Oh, yeah, you know, turning each light I turn off makes the glare worse. I wonder if I could spin this so that I'm not sitting there. All right, we're thank you for your patience. I appreciate each and every one of you. Welcome to Joy of Wargaming. I love you. Welcome to Joy of Wargaming. I love you. Welcome to Joy. I can't see it. Maybe if I turn off all the lights. Who doesn't love a good Idiocracy reference, right? We both watched that show. That makes us best friends now. Will that work a little bit better? That's way worse. Will my finger help? Oh, no. Oh, it's a touch screen. I forgot it's a touch screen. Escape. Oh, it worked. Okay. Turn off the light from behind the screen. I know, I'm trying. I got to turn off all the lights in the place. But then I won't be able to see to right. Oh, man. One of these days, I'll be able to tab Alt, and I'll just be able to go to the secondary camera. Maybe if I back up just a little bit. I gotta capture as much of the screen. And by the way, thank you for mentioning that in the chat. I was watching one of my older episodes, and if you have any overhead lighting, I do have one. Well, you think that'll work? The other, and I was watching. It was really dark for like 30 minutes. I don't know what happened. You know, the other thing that would help here, and this might, if I angle it up so that you're not seeing my Oahu shirt, that might help too. Talk amongst yourselves. I think that's a man. You need to camera, cell phone. You need to get your act together. Will that do it? I'm not looking at my computer screen. I'm going to go straight. I'm looking at the phone so that I can see exactly what you guys see. The embarrassing part is I actually tried this, and it worked really well. It looks pretty good with the angle. Just that angle, it throws off the glare. Yeah, she'll get there. We'll give her time. Come on, baby. If I come down a little more, will that help? That might help too. Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. And then this will go fast. I think that's probably about as good as we're going to get. So like I said, Hans Peterson. Now there's a couple of things I can do here. I want to have full rounded characters because I don't know which ones are going to be important. I need to generate. Now, I've already done my navigator is Captain Deuce. And my junior engineer is Chad Solo. Got those. So I need a pilot. I need a medic. I need a couple of engineers. And I need a guy with engineer 2 will be our chief engineer. And I need an engineer with, see, if I put my fingers there, it's just going to blow up on us. That's great. And then I need a chief steward and 2 assistant stewards. And I need a gunner. So those are the big skills that we're looking for. And if I don't see any of those skills, medic, pilot, engineer, steward, and gunner, then we're just going to hit refresh. Oh, and by the way, if we generate a character that dies, we're going to hit refresh. So that's kind of where we're at. Doesn't Chad Solo have engineer too? He does, but the Captain Deuce doesn't like him at all. So that's going to be a problem. Until he proves himself, right? Like it could be that during the course of our adventures, Dan Thurshadu, he's the chief engineer, like makes Deuce really mad and gets fired. So here we have. Is my mouse gonna? Just for those of you that are trying to watch this while you're driving, stop. Don't watch it. Just listen, okay? You'll get everything that we need. I'm gonna keep that out of the way there, right? So auto rifle 3 is the only skill we got there. So I'm not even gonna look at it. Here we have rifle, SMG, cutlass. I think this is gonna be. Here we go. Mechanical 1. Wait a minute. Mechanical 1. Is this our junior engineer? Navy Lieutenant Judas. Well, it's not Judas Cohen. Our junior engineer does. Oh, our senior engineer. Should we give him mechanical 1? And then, I wonder if there's an easier way to do this now that I think about it. This is a lot of information to write down. Voluntary re-enlisted and denied re-enlistment. So he only served 1 term. All I really need to do is write down. And I didn't even think about mechanical. I suppose our senior engineer could have mechanical, right? So all I need to do is write down that 6-digit number, 654 BC5. 654 BC5. And then we've got, I'm going to go Mech 1. Mech 1. He's got Vac Suit 1, Forward Observer 1, Vac 1, Observer 1, and Bayonet 1. All right, and look at that. We already got 1 done. How about that? So we refresh, looking for, there's our pilot. Mark Rizzo. What a great name for a pilot. Hans Peterson is a AAA. Hans Peterson is a beast. Look at that. AAA 853. He is 22 years old, and he's got Nav 1 and Pilot 1. Oh, so he can back up the chief. Nav 1, Pilot 1. Cool. Look at that. 2 down. Judas's stateroom is 30S. Yeah, I think I misspoke in the last episode, too, where I said, we're going to fill up 30 staterooms. No, we don't. We only got 20 of them. Denied re-enlistment. Who's this guy? Forward Observer, Gunnery 2, Electronics. Sorry, Navy Starman. Aziz Brown has got nothing good for us. And I may skip past one if I forget. Died of illness. Valentina. By the way, I think the little cross here means they're dead. That's rest in peace. Mark Rizzo from Planet Trailer Park Boys. Well, that's interesting because the Rizzo that I'm thinking of is Rizzo the Rat. But he's not Rizzo. He's Peterson. Rifle, spear, vac suit. No dice. Brawling, nothing there. Forward Observer. Gunnery 1. All right, we got our gunner. 654 BAB. Stan Paulney. 654 BAB. Likeable fella. Little average in the strength. Not a lot of endurance, but that's all right. He's 26 years old. And he has Observer 1, Gunnery 1, which is the big one. Gunnery 1, Observer 1, Mechanical 1, and Sword. All right, Mech 1 and Sword 1. Nice, well-rounded fella. I'm not writing down how many credits they have because I'm not going to track that for each of these individual characters. I'm only tracking that for named characters. We've got Dagger Gambling Rifle. No. We've got Jack of all trades and Mechanical. I don't know what Mechanical is. Rifle. We're really looking forward to finding ourselves a medic. There's our Steward 1. 974 B4A. All right, that's going to be our senior steward, who I haven't, our assistant, or stewards, wait, is it assistant to steward? It's assistant steward. Does not have a name yet, but he does have a stat profile 974. He's a pretty strong guy, which is good. He will help us be able to wrestle the drunks into and out of their beds. He is 30 years old, so he's been around the block a few times. And he's got, he's Steward 1, that's the big one. And I'm waiting for Steward 2 for the Chief Steward. And then he's got Carbine 1, Jet 1, Carbine 1, Jet 1, and what's that last one? Oh, he's a Jack of all trades. That could come in handy. Jack of all trades 1. Moving on. Air Raft, nope. Jack of all trades, nope. Died of illness. Oh, Stefan Zhang chose not to enlist. Electronics, Jet, Rifle, Steward 2. Here we go. Magnus Lynn. This is Josh Jeffroson. And he is a 1A3. That does not sound right. 1A3. He is a nimble little minx. He can cut a rug out on the dance floor. 863. And he is a young 34. And he's got Steward 2. That's what we needed. That's what we pay him the big bucks for. But he's got a host of other skills too. Man, look at this guy. He's loaded. Cutlass 1, Rifle 1. All right, I gotta put an asterisk here for all his stuff. Cutlass 1. I'm never gonna remember all this. I don't even know why I'm writing it down. Rifle 1. Jets. Electronics 1. So he's a programmer. He works in IT. I think that's what electronics is. And then Jets 1. So he may be driving the shuttle. Cool. All right. ATV rifle SMG does me no good. Let us refresh. Lieutenant died in service. Bo Rossi, ATV gambling rifle SMG, Jack of all trades. Pilot 1, already got a pilot. ATV rifle. We're looking for another steward and a medic. Those are the two big ones that we've got left. Steward, medic, and engineering. We haven't had a single engineer yet, have we? That's pretty rare. I suppose. Death. Nothing. I wonder if the other thing we could do is swap some of these out. Like, what if this guy with the air raft forward observer rifle, what if instead of mechanical we just swapped out for engineering? Would that be out of line? If we don't get a single engineer here in a little bit, we might. Oh, age 38. Look at this old man. Look at this. He's got skills for days, baby. Oh, he retired at 38. Forward observer, gambling, pike rifle, SMG. That's no good. Refresh. Come on, Daddy needs a new pair of engineering. Is engineering even in this? Am I doing something wrong here? Maybe I need to cut back over to that other character generator. The one that has let you pick. Let me take a look. I haven't rolled up a straight up character in such a long time. +1 engineering. What do you got to do to get engineering? You got to go through the Navy for starters. Is that the only one? Yeah, it looks like we're looking for a Navy man. Gambling, brawling. There's only one. Yeah, boy, it looks like, unless I'm missing one. Your service skills. The only time you get engineering, I wonder if we can even see this here. This is what I'm looking at. The only place I see engineering during a brief and hasty scroll through here is you have to be in the Navy, advanced education, there's engineering. Can't you make it give you just Navy characters? I think you need to the right career field. Yeah, not with this one. Maybe we just, well, let's see what happens with stewards. Okay, if we can lock down our stewards, then maybe I'll kick back over to that other one where you get to choose. Or maybe if we go with the white, this will. Oh, it focuses so much better. Maybe I should have been doing this one. So now I can say, yeah, go Navy. Ooh, the problem is I think it's going to be using all of. Will it use all the supplements? And then we can say, let's go most suited. Do we do auto survive? I'm gonna check the chat. You have 2 stewards. How many are needed? So on a starship of this size, you need 1 steward for every 10 cabins. I've got 30 cabins, so I have a chief steward, I have an assistant steward, and I have an assistant to the steward. So I have 2. I need 1 more. Likewise, for every 200 tons, you need or like, I built this on the classic standard construction template. This one's for the Warhammer bros. Auto survive. Oh, you also need a cook to be the trader. So really all I need yet is the chief engineer, the medic, and the assistant to the steward. But I haven't seen what this develops yet. So let's submit this. I ain't doing no auto survive. No commissions? I don't think so. Let's submit and see what happens. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. There's our engineer. 775849. 30 years old. He's got guns, gunnery, vac suit. We got a backup gunnery. I like that. And engineering 1. So that's our junior engineer. He is... Oh, no. What am I talking about? I'm looking for engineering 2. Yeah, we'll do this until we get engineering 2. Engineering 1. I want to make sure that our engineer is at least as capable as Chad Solo is. I think that's reasonable. I might wind up regretting this. Deceased. So this one, you get rid of electronics and take engineering 2 for one of these guys. You think? Electronic 1, but like blade pilot 2 blade. That's not bad. This one doesn't waste my time with goofy names I'm not going to use. Oh, that's a great point. I am not going to get engineering 2, am I? Because you have to get the first one. You like the first guy I had? All right, we'll go back. This is the beauty of this. I'm not going to get engineering 2 out of this because you got to hit that advanced table for Navy. You got to roll a 4 twice. Double 4s ain't happening, bro. Blade combat gunnery 1. I don't want to go too far because I'm afraid it will. Is this the guy? We like this guy. Admin 2, computer 2, engineering 1, gun combat gunnery. He's got mechanical 1. Maybe we make this guy. Maybe we just take this guy. He's pretty boss. 476. These guys are mostly. I think our pilot's the toughest guy we've generated so far. Yeah, they're not hired for their muscle. I tell you that. All right, chat. I'm looking at you. What do we think? Do we like this guy? Get rid of mechanical 1 and take engineering 2 on this guy. Maybe we leave it as engineering 1 and we give, if we leave this at engineering 1, then we open the door for the possibility that Chad Solo can step into those shoes when the chief engineer muffs his role. Then Chad goes, here's a little trick I learned on Black Reef. You just have to bypass the motivator. And then the engineer goes, huh, you're a horribly written character. Yeah, I like this. Let's just do that, all right? 7 terms. He's 46 years old. He's the old man. I don't know, man. Maybe he's Dan Thurshadu. This is you, my friend. This is your life. 476 AA8. 476 AA8. 476 AA8. It makes sense that they're going to have really good social scores because they are Navy men after all. And this game seems to think that Navy boys are well connected. At least the lieutenants are for sure. So he's 40. Oh, he's 46. Okay. Let me make that little adjustment. And then he is engineering 1, and I'm going to double star him. And again, he's been around so much. He's got some serious skills. He's got admin 2. That's going to come in handy when it comes to time to do some bribing stuff and find a better cargo. Computer 2, gun combat 1. Wait, is computer different from electronics? Guns 1, gunnery and mechanical. Gunnery 1 and mechanical 1. We are loaded on mechanicals here. If anything goes wrong mechanically, we've got like 3 or 4 shots because like 4 or 5 different guys can combine. Yeah, the chief steward is I can read you. Let me go to that and explain it to you in the words of the master, by which I mean Mark Miller. Not to be confused with Mark Millar. Crew salaries. Where does it discuss that? Starship captain is usually the pilot or navigator. Not all. Oh, it's in the skills section. Oh, look at that. I haven't looked at book 1 in so long. Mechanical, electronic has skill in the use, operation, or repair of electronics. The person is considered handy with the equivalent of a green thumb talent, including energy weapon repair, which is that different? So in Proto Traveler, there is no computer skill. Bribery, forgery, administration. Oh no, these are not in alphabetical order. They hadn't invented the alphabet in 1977. Yeah, I don't think there is. Steward. The individual is experienced and capable of performance of the duties of a ship's steward. Well, that helps. Specific game effects. The care and feeding of starship passengers is an integral part of passenger service. The ship steward is responsible for the care and feeding of your passengers. The position may be held by any character, regardless of expertise, but those with expertise are given preference for the position. And of course, Captain Deuce is paying this guy, how much is he paying him? He's paying him $3,000 a month, so he better know what he's doing. That's our chief steward. No, that was our chief engineer. So that's what stewards are. I still need an assistant steward. So now we can come down here and we can say, oh yeah, let's, wait a minute. How do you get to be a steward? Let me go back to that table and figure out which career is most likely to stew. Is it other? Merchant. Oh, that makes sense. I'm seeing 1 in merchant. And is there any in advanced? I don't see 1. What about advanced education? Nah, it looks like steward only shows up if you're in the merchant. So we can come over here. We can say, give me a merchant. Just give me 1 at a time. So there's our mechanical gun. Nope. Nope, I just need to hit it 1. Nav, steward, there you go. 665, 686. 685, 686. And he is a spring chicken at 22. But he's got steward 1, nav 1, and vac suit 1. Steward 1, vac suit 1, and what was the last one I said? Navigation. Oh, cool. Yeah, we got a bunch of navigators. And wouldn't you know it? Let's take a look. Let's take a look. It's funny how everybody's got navigation as a secondary. Look at all the star lanes that don't exist. It makes perfect sense that navigation is like really wildly popular. Why does it say gun there? Oh, so this line down here is telling you what, when they were run out of the service, what they took with them. So if I click, we'll take a look at Army here, and I'll just make one for fun. So he got out with 15,000 credits, but sometimes like this guy here, he got out with a low passage. So they said, listen, we're not going to buy you a first-class ticket home, but if you want to fly low passage, you can, right? This guy, he got out with 30,000 and a high passage. So Army Lieutenant Colonel, they were like, look, you can go home, and we'll put you up in first class. So that's what that kind of section down there is. I still need a medic, and medics come out of the... This is a hard one to get. Not a lot of tactics coming out of here, coming out today. Where's medic? Man, I don't even see it in this table. Gun combat. Medic. Boy, our scout should be looking for a medic, right? Medical. Here we go. Scouts and merchants. So should we go? Let's try scout first. Let's see. Let's see if we can generate one with the scout. And I'm still going full random. You can tell it, oh, I want 3 terms so that you're sure to get it. There we go, medical 1, right? We got a 34-year-old former scout. For weapons, I'm assuming that the ship's locker has a selection of like tech level 7 to 8-ish that if need be, the captain can break that out. Our medic, Lane Luschapa, is, what has he got here? He's got 7C9. There we go. 7C9. Handy in a gunfight. 896. That's an above average chap right there. Oh, wait. 7C9, 896. In fact, these are all above average, right? Except for the 6. That's a pretty impressive fella right there. I'm glad to have him on board the ship. He is 34, and he's got Medic 1. He's got Pilot 1, Electronics, Gunnery. Oh boy, I need another set of skills here. He's got Pilot 1, so we got a backup pilot. We've got a backup gunner. Gunnery 1. We've got, what was that, mechanical? Let's see, pilot, gunner. Oh, it's electronics, and then vehicle 1. I don't know what vehicle is. I'm assuming he's got some skill at the air raft. Pilot, gunnery, vehicle. Oh, jack of all trades is another good one. Mech 1 and JOT number 1. What else do we need? Is that it? I think, are we done? Yeah, that's it. We got ourselves a crew. It looks a little. Oh, we can get a little more light on there. Show me what you got, baby. There we go. So there's our crew. Why do we do all this? I don't know. I think it's because there's a couple of things. There's not a lot of fuel in this corner of the subsector, so we're going to be making a lot of jumps with some penalties. So we may need the Mech 1. We're going to have... Oh, I forgot to write down how old the senior engineer is. I'll go back and look. I think with these 4, he probably did like 2 or 3 turns in the service. So he's probably like 28. I don't know. But the point is, right, I need to know what my pilot skill is, pilot 1, and if something happens and the pilot dies, I'm anticipating that we have... He did 7 terms. This guy did? The senior engineer? Let me write that down. So that's 28. So he's 48. That's a heck of a memory, man. I'm impressed. Dan Thursh... Wait. What did I not write down? Arsenal Stan Pawnley. Oh, the senior engineer. Okay, let me just write that. I'll fix that. I'll clean it up in post. Yeah, so that's the big thing is, if something goes wrong mechanically, then we've got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got like at least 4 guys, and I'm not even counting good old Munderdoose. What has he got? He's got navigation, pistol, jack of all trades, bribery, vac suit, and wheel pilot. So we can pilot wheeled vehicles. So if we do run around with an all-terrain vehicle, he'll be driving it himself. And then, of course, for our hero of the day, our solo, he's not so solo anymore, is he? He's got shotgun. Oh, engineering 2, vac suit 1. Those are his 3 skills. He's a hobo with a shotgun, baby. And that will come in handy at some point, I'm sure. Yeah, that's it, man. We got a crew. We got a corner of the galaxy. We know when the next jump is going to occur. It's going to occur on... It was supposed to occur on the 22nd, but we got delayed 2 days. Our window's closed and we're jumping off on the 24th, Sunday. So today is Thursday. We've got all weekend to catch up, and then we can do our jump. Remember, it's going to take a week. So after we do that jump and figure out what our next phase of the adventure is, we're going to have some time. It takes a week to jump, so we land. We're probably going to have to kick back over to Be Like a Crow. We can do 1 or 2 more episodes of that. And then we'll probably put that to bed because we'll have seen it. Maybe take a look at just
do like a quick skim through of the other genres and settings that you can be like a crow in. But for now, we're good, man. We've got a lot of fun. We know what our path is. We know where we're going. We know what's going on. Thanks for your help, guys. Hey, listen, I appreciate your patience as we set up the camera here to show you. I wish we would have started with this one. It would have gone better. It's 106 miles to... No, it's 106 miles to Corvinus. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of stim sticks. It's dark out, and we're wearing... we're not wearing sunglasses. We're wearing eclipse goggles so we can see the eclipse. More power to you, particularly those of you that live in the path of the eclipse that's coming up, just to prove that we are on the day we said we are. And I'm just vamping, guys. It's been great. Thanks for hanging on. No, our backup pilot is well, I got to look at it. There's a lot of analysis to go here. We got a couple of guys with pilot actually. Our medic is the backup pilot, and oh no, look at that. Captain Deuce is not a pilot. Do we have one more? I thought we had a third pilot. We don't. But the other thing we'll take a look at is if we're going down to a tech level 5 world where we're not allowed to use our blasters, we might want to grab the guy with the bayonet 1, sword 1. If we have to do any outside repairs, we got a bunch of guys with vac suit skills. That's the interesting thing is that Chad Solo, engineering vac suit. Yeah. He'll be good. But remember, vac suit 1 does not give you a +1, right? Vac suit gives you a DM of +4. I'm going to have to start paying a lot more attention to that once we get into the actual adventure portion of this instead of the world creation. Anyway, look, I'm done. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I appreciate it. Talk to you in a few days. And maybe tomorrow, we'll see. It's Friday Night Gamers. Hopefully tomorrow. Keep an eye out. Well, just subscribe. Make sure you support my Patreon. If you're supporting my Patreon, stop, because it's not mine. Someone's spoofing me. Till next time, I'm praying for you.